Pushpin slide content times a string in Java is an object that represents a sequence of characters. Time strings are handled differently than primitive types like int or char. Times the string constant pool is a special memory area inside the heap used to store unique string literals. In Java, text is not just a simple piece of data, it is a full object managed by the string class. Whenever you create a string using double quotes, Java does something very clever behind the scenes to save memory. It uses the string constant pool. Think of the string constant pool as a library of unique words. When you write string s1 equals hello, Java looks into this library. If the word hello is already there, it simply points your variable to that existing entry. It does not create a new one. This process is called interning. However, if you use the new keyword, such as string s2 equals new string with hello passed into it, Java is forced to create a brand new object in the regular heap memory, even if that word already exists in the pool. This is why we have two different ways to store strings. Using literals is much more memory efficient because it avoids creating duplicate objects in the program's memory. Let us walk through this code step by step. We have one class called string_basics, and inside the main method we are creating three string variables. All three store the same text, which is Java. But the way they are created is completely different, and that difference is what this example is all about. S1 is created using a string literal. When Java sees this line, it goes and checks the string constant pool. The pool is empty at this point, so Java creates a new entry for Java in the pool and points S1 to that entry. S2 is also created using a string literal with the same text Java. Java again checks the string constant pool. This time it finds Java already sitting there. So instead of creating a new object, Java simply points S2 to the exact same entry that S1 is already pointing to. No new object is created. Both S1 and S2 are pointing to the same memory address inside the pool. S3 is created using the new keyword. This is the key difference. When you use the new keyword, Java does not check the string constant pool at all. It is forced to create a brand new string object directly in the regular heap memory. Even though the text is exactly the same as S1 and S2, the object is completely separate and sits at a different memory address. Now when we print S1 double equals S2, the result is true. The double equals operator compares memory addresses, not content. Since both S1 and S2 were created as literals and Java reused the same pool entry, both variables are pointing to the exact same memory address. So the comparison returns true. When we print S1 double equals S3, the result is false. Even though the text Java is identical, the memory addresses are different. S1 points to the string constant pool and S3 points to a separate object in the heap. The double equals operator sees two different addresses and returns false. The output is true on the first line and false on the second line. This example clearly shows why using the new keyword with strings is generally avoided. It wastes memory by creating duplicate objects even when the same text already exists in the pool. String literals are always preferred because Java handles memory efficiently through the string constant pool automatically. Immutability is a fancy word that simply means unchangeable. Once a string object is born in memory, it can never be edited. You might think, wait, I change strings all the time by adding more text to them. But what is actually happening is a bit of a magic trick. When you have a string containing the word Java and you add the word script to it, Java does not open the original object and stuff the new letters inside. Instead, it creates a completely new third object in memory containing the full word JavaScript. The original Java object remains exactly as it was. Why does Java do this? First, for security. Strings are used for database passwords and network connections. If they could be changed by another part of the program secretly, it would be a huge security risk. Second, it makes the string constant pool possible. Since many variables point to the same word in the pool, if one variable could change that word, every other variable would see the change too, which would cause total chaos in your code. Let us walk through this code step by step. We have one class called ImmutableTest, and inside the main method we are working with a single string variable called s which starts with the value hello. In the first part we call s.concat with world passed into it. This method creates a brand new string object in memory containing hello world. But here is the important thing. We did not assign the result back to s. We just called the method and threw away the result. So s is still pointing to the original hello object. Nothing changed. When we print s, the output is hello. This is immutability in action. The concat method did not modify the original hello object. It created a completely new object. The original remained untouched. In the second part we write s equals s.concat with world passed into it. This time we are assigning the result back to s. So what happens is concat creates a new string object containing hello world in memory. Then the variable s is updated to point to this new object. S no longer points to the original hello. It now points to hello world. When we print s, the output is hello world. The original hello object is now abandoned. No variable is pointing to it anymore. Java's garbage collector will eventually find it and clean it up from memory. The output is hello on the first line and hello world on the second line. The key lesson here is that strings in Java never change. Every operation that looks like it is modifying a string is actually creating a brand new object behind the scenes. If you do not capture the result by assigning it back to a variable, you will lose it completely and your original string will remain exactly as it was. If you are doing a lot of heavy text editing like building a long document or looping 1,000 times to add characters, using the regular string class is a bad idea. Every single time you modify a string, Java creates a brand new object in memory and abandons the old one. If you are doing this inside a loop that runs 1,000 times, you end up with 1,000 useless objects sitting in memory. This makes your program slow and puts unnecessary pressure on the garbage collector. This is where string builder and string buffer come in. Think of these as a reusable notepad. With a regular string, it is like writing a word on a piece of paper and then throwing that paper away and buying a brand new one every time you want to add just one more letter. That is incredibly wasteful. String builder and string buffer work differently. Instead of creating a new object every time you make a change, they modify the same object in place. You are writing on the same page over and over again without ever throwing it away. This is much faster and uses far less memory, especially when you are making a large number of changes. Now the question is, when do you use string builder and when do you use string buffer? The answer comes down to one concept, which is thread safety. String builder is the default choice for most situations. It is fast because it has no extra protection mechanisms. When you are working in a simple program where only one part of the code is touching your string at a time, string builder is exactly what you need. String buffer is used in more complex programs where multiple parts of the code are running at the exact same time and all of them might be trying to modify the same string simultaneously. This is called a multithreaded environment. String buffer has built-in protection that ensures only one part of the code can modify the string at any given moment. This prevents the data from getting corrupted. However, this extra protection comes at a cost, and that cost is speed. String buffer is slightly slower than string builder because of this overhead. So to summarize, if you are building or editing large amounts of text, avoid regular string. Use string builder when you are working alone with the string, and use string buffer when multiple threads might be accessing the same string at the same time. Let us walk through this code step by step. We have one class called builder example, and inside the main method we are working with a string builder object called SB. This example shows how string builder modifies the same object in memory instead of creating new ones every time. We start by creating a string builder with the initial value Java. At this point, SB contains just the word Java. Then we call append with programming passed into it. The append method adds text directly to the end of the existing string builder object. No new object is created. The same object is simply extended. After this line, SB contains Java programming. Then we call insert with 4 and is passed into it. The insert method places text at a specific position inside the existing object. Index 4 means the character position at index 4, which is right after the word Java. So is gets inserted right there. After this line, SB contains Java is programming. Again, no new object was created. The same object was modified directly. Then we call reverse. This method flips the entire content of the string builder around. Every character gets reversed in place. Java is programming becomes Nimargapisi Avaje. Once again, the same object is being modified. No new object is created anywhere. Finally, we print SB and the output is Nimargapisi Avaje. The key thing to notice in this entire example is that we performed 4 different operations on SB, and throughout all of them we were working with the exact same object in memory. If we had used a regular string instead of string builder, each of these operations would have created a brand new string object and abandoned the previous one. With string builder, all changes happen on the same object, which makes it significantly faster and much more memory efficient when you are doing heavy text manipulation. The string class comes with a toolbox of methods that help you inspect and change text easily. The length method tells you how many characters are in the string, including spaces. The caret method is like an index finger pointing to a specific spot. Remember, Java starts counting at 0, so the first letter is at position 0. If you only want a piece of a string, you use substring. You give it a starting point and an ending point. A helpful tip is that it includes the start index but stops just before the end index. Finally, we have utility methods like trim, which is perfect for cleaning up user input by removing accidental spaces at the beginning or end of a word. We also have case conversion methods to make everything capital or lowercase, which is very useful when comparing text where capitalization might not match. Let us walk through this code step by step. We have one class called methodTest, and inside the main method we are working with a single string variable called text. The value stored in text is Java language, but notice that there are extra spaces at the beginning and at the end of the text. These spaces are part of the string and they matter in several of our operations. The first line prints the length of text. The length method counts every single character in the string, including the spaces at the beginning and the end. That is why the result is 19 and not 13. Every space is a character, just like every letter is a character. The second line prints the trimmed version of text. The trim method removes all the extra spaces from the beginning and the end of the string. The output is Java language with no leading or trailing spaces. Notice that trim does not modify the original text object. It creates a new clean string and returns it. The original text still has its spaces. The third line prints the uppercase version of text. The to-uppercase method converts every letter in the string to its capital form. The output is Java language in all capitals including the spaces. Again, the original text object is not changed. A new string is returned with the converted letters. The fourth line is an example of method chaining. We first call trim on text to remove the extra spaces and get a clean Java language string. Then we immediately call caret with 0 on that trimmed result. Caret with 0 gives us the character at position 0, which is the very first character. Since the string is now trimmed, the first character is J and not a space. The output is J. The fifth line is also method chaining. We first call trim on text to remove the spaces. Then we call substring with 0 and 4 on the trimmed result. The substring method extracts a portion of the string starting from index 0 and going up to but not including index 4. That gives us the first 4 characters which spell out Java. The output is Java. The final output shows length 19, then trim Java language, then upper Java language, then letter at 3 joules, and finally part Java, each printed on a new line. The important thing to take away from this example is that none of these methods modify the original text object. String is immutable. Every method returns a new result and the original stays exactly as it was. Method chaining is also a powerful technique that lets you apply multiple operations in a single clean line. This is one of the most common mistakes new Java developers make. When you want to see if two strings are the same, you have to decide if you care about where they are or what they say. The double equals sign is the address checker. It asks the question, are these two things pointing to the exact same spot in memory? If you have two different objects in two different places that both happen to say the word hello, double equals will tell you false because the locations are different. The dot equals method is the content checker. It does not care about memory addresses. It opens up the objects, looks at the characters one by one, and asks, is the text inside identical? If they both say hello, it returns true, even if they are stored in different parts of the computer's memory. In almost every real-world scenario, like checking a password or a username, you only care about the content. Therefore, you should almost always use dot equals and avoid using double equals when comparing strings. Here is the expanded and cleaned up code explanation. Let us walk through this code step by step. We have one class called compareStrings, and inside the main method we are creating two string variables. Both of them store the exact same text, which is hello. But the way they are created is different, and that difference is everything in this example. S1 is created using a string literal. Java checks the string constant pool, finds that hello does not exist yet, creates it in the pool, and points S1 to that entry. S2 is created using the new keyword. Even though the text is the same hello, using new forces Java to skip the string constant pool entirely and create a brand new separate object in the regular heap memory. So now we have two objects in memory that both contain the word hello, but they are sitting at two completely different memory addresses. The first print statement uses the double equals operator to compare S1 and S2. The double equals operator is an address checker. It does not look at the content inside the objects. It only asks whether both variables are pointing to the exact same memory address. S1 is pointing to the string constant pool and S2 is pointing to a separate object in the heap. The addresses are different, so the result is false. The second print statement uses the equals method to compare S1 and S2. The equals method is a content checker. It does not care about memory addresses at all. It opens both objects and compares the characters inside one by one. Both S1 and S2 contain the exact same sequence of characters HELLO. Since the content is identical, the equals method returns true. The output is false on the first line and true on the second line. The lesson here is simple but very important. In real-world Java programming, whenever you need to compare two strings, always use the equals method. Double equals will almost always give you unexpected results with strings because it compares addresses and not content. Only use double equals when you specifically want to check whether two variables are pointing to the exact same object in memory. Thank you for watching this video. I hope this explanation helped you clearly understand the advanced OOP and its core components in a structured and easy way. Continue learning, keep practicing, and stay consistent with your preparation. More detailed concepts are coming next.